YouTube. Good evening or good night, depending on when you're watching this. Welcome to the Gotcha Devils channel. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn the bell on for all notifications because we got some good old gotcha slop for some drama today. Not gonna lie, it involves one of my favorite guys and one of my least favorite guys. This is a rough one. I actually wasn't gonna post any videos today. I actually wasn't gonna go live today on twitch.tv/Tectone, of which I go live every single day at 9 a.m. CST. Wasn't going to do it, but when I see war, the Gotcha Devil will descend upon this. And my name was tagged, and as you know, say my name and I appear. His name is John Tectone. So today involves drama with a familiar face that you guys might know by the name of Mr. Pokey. Now, you guys can tell I have some blatant bias that I'm clearly trying to work on with some of my favorite people in the Gotcha community, aka Gotcha Smack, Mr. Pokey, and LOL Shinya. Now, while Gotcha Smack's been a good boy for a long time, while LOL Shinya has been pretty much painted as the bad guy for doing things that nobody else really wants to talk about, and I'll be real, without Shinya, I don't think that the Gotcha space would be as good of a space as it is due to the fact that he was exposing the Hoyo contract. He was the first person to find the leak and make a video on it, and I think the world has been healing ever since. However, if you don't like what his disagreement is with Rexlant, you're more than welcome to do that. It is what it is. I do have some blatant bias towards Mr. Pokey. I do. I love this guy. I really do. But he made this post. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because this shit is so dystopian based on what he himself said. So we're going to talk about this. We'll see how he feels if he decides to react. He doesn't have to. This is his post, and I'm just going to attempt to speak objectively, regardless of the viewers' feelings, regardless of everybody's feelings. I am just merely going to tell it how it is, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. We got a lot of things to go over. We have about 7 screenshots to go over, and this shit gets a little bit crazy. So in case you guys don't know, Mr. Pokey's chat, Mr. Pokey's less so Twitch chat, more so YouTube comments, are just a bunch of fucking retards. And just to further solidify that narrative, Mr. Pokey's YouTube comments are so fucking dumb, it's insane. Now, I want to remind you, okay? In case you guys, you know what, let me just read the comment first. I just gonna say it. Before you did more with Tectone, the Genshin Story live stream, where much more chill. That's just show whose chat is more problematic. Now, I would challenge you guys to find someone who doesn't sound like a toddler typing about how much they hate on me in another Gotcha CC's chat, because the people who hate me most are children, because much like children, they don't understand that I'm right and everybody else is wrong. It's kind of like communism. If you're a kid, you should believe in communism. It makes sense, right? Like, oh, everybody gets the same thing. Wow, that's so nice. Isn't that so cool? I love communism. But then when you grow up, you realize, oh, well, that concept just doesn't work. Growing up is realizing that Tectone was never wrong about anything he's ever said. And this comment demonstrates that. And let me tell you why. To all of you guys who know, you'll realize why this comment is fucking stupid as shit. 98 upvotes, by the way. One of the most upvoted comments on this entire channel. The reason why this comment is so fucking dumb is because Mr. Pokey didn't fucking play Genshin before he knew me. So the moment of which this person is referring to that was agreed to in mass does not exist. These people lie, they live in delusion, and they just make shit up for fun. And people are so dumb. They're so desperate to look for confirmation bias, they will upvote things that are completely augmented in fiction. So no, Mr. Pokey's chat was not better before he met me. His Genshin streams were not better before he met me because he didn't play Genshin before he met me. And the reason why he played Genshin is because I told him to. And then you say his chat was more peaceful before he met me. I met him because he reached out to me because Jing Yuan Mains was fucking with him, and then I bitched that whole Reddit because HSR was going after him and calling him a piece of shit. So no, that didn't fucking happen. Listen, guys, I do plenty of things to make myself look bad. We don't need to get to the point where we are now resorting to making things up. Now, let's continue here. And, I would love for anybody to prove me wrong. Also, I'm actually pretty sure I reached out to Mr. Pokey, not the other way around. Correcting that. Anyways, I would love for anybody to prove me wrong. Let's continue here. I was about to make another vid because the Gotcha tribalism retards. Also, Mr. Pokey, just say the word retards. Who cares? Everybody knows what you're saying. Just type it. Who cares? Are so dumb that it makes me pity them. But unfortunately, their mental illness is not my problem. True. Thankfully, I'm at peace and realize this was the best thing that ever happened to me. I finally get to find the dogs that are barking nonstop and put them down. People who want to farm and push whatever agenda they want to push will continue to do so, with or without me sharing my experience. Whether they hate Genshin or WoWa, the narrative will always be there, which gives purpose to the same dogs that need to bark for attention. Very true. I will continue playing whatever I want to play. It can be WoWa, it can be Genshin, it can be Marvel Rivals for all I care. If you want to see war, there's plenty of others, like myself. If you want to bitch and whine like your mom dropped you, then get banned. True. I've moved on and will be looking forward to the better 2025. Now he says this. He says he's moving on. And I was so excited, like, okay, new year, new Pokey. This is going to be great. And then once he says he's above the drama, he immediately puts out this tweet. HSR has a power creep problem only if you allow it to happen, either by greed or stupidity. Change my mind. One of the most visceral, raw, incendiary tweets I have ever seen come from the self-proclaimed Mr. Neutral. Now, here's what I originally thought. I saw this post 2 minutes after it was posted. And I thought, easy farm, easy farm. This was a bait tweet. He put this out to see who would bitch and then get 3 bans, right? I saw that and I was like, oh, this is smart. He put out a tweet to bait out the dumb people who would take over offense to this because he doesn't really care. He knows that he's trolling. And then 3 bans. I go to his chat just to double check, and everybody in his chat tells me that this was a serious tweet. So I go further and I try to fact check it, and I see this comment, which is, I thought the war arc is over, and he said, this isn't war. I just want a constructive discussion. So he says that this is constructive. Mr. Pokey, when all you're doing is saying to anybody that disagrees with you that they have a skill issue and to play better, and that people are greedy, the players are greedy and stupid for playing a gacha game. Well, gacha games are by design made by the greediest devs on planet Earth. This post, it's really not that big of a deal, but I just want to make sure that at least Mr. Pokey knows that this post is obviously going to cause war. So I don't know how we went from the war arc to the peace arc that lasted 2 hours, and now it seems like we're in the crash out arc, but something is going on. Because some of these posts are insane. I have a graph I actually want to show you guys. Anybody who's played the game of HSR strictly understands that power creep and HP bloat is a very apparent issue, a very abhorrent issue, judging by this graph of how the HP has gone in MOCs from launch till now. The HP of bosses are sometimes a factor of 5 to 6 of what they originally were, meaning that you need 5 to 6 more times damage to be able to clear at the same rate of which you were previously able to. So this is obviously really bad when you see this on a graph. This is obviously really, really, really fucking bad. So when people say it's a damage sponge that power creep is a huge issue, it is. It just is. HSR has one of the worst HP sponge power creep mechanics built in of any gacha game I've seen. Thankfully, I enjoy the story and the world and the characters enough to kind of oversee it, but it is a very apparent issue, and I am obviously going to make a video in the future called Everything Wrong with Honkai Star Rail. But yeah, you say it's normal for a gacha game, but actually it's really not. It's normal in like the Hoyo gachas, but there's a lot of gacha games out there where things are pretty damn balanced. I want to reference Cookie Run Kingdom. Cookie Run Kingdom's a pretty balanced game. A lot of the early units are still meta viable in PvP and PvE, and I just don't think that you've played enough to know that. Same thing with Summoner's War. Some of the strongest characters are the characters that came out at the very beginning, like Ragdoll from the L&D Scrolls, or Varad the Dragon, or even Zyros the Fire Dragon. Yeah, or even Neptune, the Water Seaman. That's pretty much how it goes. I just think people think that because you all haven't played enough gacha like I have. Now, there are gachas that are just power creep the game. However, it's not every gacha. So let's not just turn a blind eye because that's just gacha. Every character gets power crept. The other issue why power creep is so bad of an issue in Honkai Star Rail is due to the fact that the skill ceiling or the skill floor to the skill ceiling is very close. So you don't really have the opportunity to make up mechanically for the weakness and the struggles of your character due to the fact that, well, the game is just very shallow. There's not really that much strategy to it. And there are some ways where you can increase your DPS, but there's not so much to where you can overwhelmingly increase your DPS like other games like Wuthering Waves, for example, where if you play perfectly, your DPS triples to quadruples, right? Autoplay is pretty damn good half the time, especially when you play a meta viable team like Fart. This was a very incendiary tweet, and I'm not really sure what's going on with Mr. Pokey, but just know, Mr. Pokey, whether you're crashing out, whether you're at war, I just want to know I love you no matter what, but man, this was a very dystopian take based off what I thought you wanted moving forward with your content. It was just a little bit strange to say, I want peace, love, and happiness, and now fuck everybody who disagrees with me. It was a little bit insane. Some content creators weighed in, like Box2, who says, nah, bro, HSR has a power creep problem. You can't just not allow it to happen. You can make smarter pulls that doesn't solve power creep. It just makes it slightly less bad. You're not taking into account people with shit luck. Like that, what's that makes me max pity 180 pulls to get a new carrot every banner on your free to play. True. So the other thing is, this is not taking into account the only demographic that matters, which is the casual audience. Casual audience will always be the thing that every developer must pander to as a gacha game, because gacha games are casual games. We all know it. They're built for people on the go who are too busy to game at home. Things need to be positioned to people who don't know what they're doing, who are struggling for time, who don't have time to research. In case you guys don't know, a pretty general statistic is anywhere between 6 to 8% of people are actually the amount of people who absorb the content outside the game. So essentially, 92% of the player base just plays the game. The other 8% is a more hardcore, into the guides, into the Twitch community, all that shit. It's a much, 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 much smaller minority that you don't want to focus on the hardcore players, because that's not how you get the game to be successful. Now let's continue. So Captain Cabernet weighs in and says, what is bro waffling about? Only if you allow it to happen. This sounds like the most cope ever. Yes, it's the consumer's fault for a problematic power creep, not the devs who make the metas that force you to pull for their respective characters. This is really weird framing. Then, Captain Cabernet goes on to say some pretty great shit. You can read that if you want, but I absolutely agree. I think blaming the consumers for corporate greed is a little bit odd. Now, I will say, I think it's absolutely fine for people who vehemently bitch and moan about the state of the game, who then continue to support it. Well, those are the people you should make fun of. If they really think HSR is that far gone, then obviously they should quit. If you want to help the game that you think is struggling, the best thing that you can do is quit. Now, me personally, I don't think HSR is that far gone, maybe because I've spent a lot of money on the fucking game. I'm probably at least 5, 6K at this point, but I really think Mr. Pokey would really change his perspective, and I would really like to challenge Mr. Pokey to play the game free to play, completely free to play, and really just see what the majority of players are actually experiencing. I think that'd be great content. I think that'd be good, but I think Mr. Pokey maybe has become a little bit lost in his own syrup. And I think he needs to reground himself, start a free-to-play account, of which I have recommended him, and I believe he's taken my suggestion to heart. And he should be doing that because I think that'll help him ground himself in reality, and I think he'll wake up to the true issues that the game really does have. So, HSR is a power creep problem only allowed to happen either by greed or stupidity. Change my mind. Play better. Asshat, posted by Fab, Steamy Gay Sex. Now, this is the post that I really, really, really wanted to weigh in on. And obviously, you guys know I have a pretty hard negative bias towards EO. EO is a guy who obviously broke one of my sacred rules of content creation, which is if there is a conversation that you have in private with your peers in a safe space, you do not go and wave around what was said in that safe space. Yes, there was absolutely no reason for it, and it was weird as fuck. But putting that aside, EO is somebody who has one of the biggest victim complexes of which I have ever seen. And every single time I want to give him another chance to see him apologize for the error of his ways, he doubles down on the fact that he is a victim. And so I want to read this post here real quick because the fact that people aren't calling him out because they feel pity for him and they feel bad for him is honestly upsetting. Now, obviously, I have no want or need to ever reconnect with EO whatsoever because I feel like this issue has now been going on for so long that it's a lost cause. But I want to read this big old dialogue and we're going to go ahead and break everything down. All right, let's go ahead and tell you why I took a big issue. It is more so at the end, but I do want to talk about this. All right, here we go. The HSR power creep discussion is funny for a number of factors. Okay, why is it funny? Most of y'all are arguing with folks you constantly go to for game advice. But the moment they say something you don't like, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, so this is a absolute retard out of touch take. When a content creator puts out misinformation, their community are going to call them out for it en masse. It happens every single fucking time. When a community knows better, they will then correct the guide maker. It happens every single time. We can act like every community is a brainless slop fest for whatever content creator they say, but I assure you, when people say dumb shit, they will get corrected. This has happened for a very long time, all right? The community is a lot less stupid than you might think. Let's continue. HSR is a meta-driven game. Stop fighting about what it is and making decisions based on what it's not, then complaining about it later. Okay, all right. So let me just try to even decipher what the fuck this even says. Okay, so let's just say this again out loud and see if we can figure out what is he saying, boys? What is he saying? HSR is a meta-driven game. Stop fighting about what it is and making decisions based on what it's not, then complaining about it later. So this is another incredibly fun riddle that EO has put out, which is why he has donned the title The Riddler, where when you use vague examples, you are going to get vague answers. Be specific about what the fuck you're talking about, okay? And saying that HSR is a meta-driven game, well, then it's shit by design, because that's fucking horrible. And that means you will only use what the game decides that you want to use, or that they want you to use. And I feel like players are completely fair and valid for saying, hey, we would like more freedom to use our units. I feel like it's very not hard to understand that gripe. Let's continue here. A lot of the community loves to pretend they know everything. Okay, so how did you go from saying that the community knows nothing until you say something they don't like, to now the community pretends they know everything? In the span of 2 paragraphs, you have completely backtracked what you said previously. And it happens every fucking time. It happens every fucking time. Always have, and then assumes every other player should too. In reality, all of us aren't some cracked out HSR meta head. All right, so let's just break down these 3 paragraphs. So in the first paragraph, you're saying that the community knows nothing because you have to go for CCs for advice. But then you also say they also know everything. And then you say that it's a meta game, get over it. And then you're saying that not all of us are cracked out HSR meta heads, like meta's bad. So which one is it? Because in 3 paragraphs, you have completely contradicted yourself 4 times in 3 paragraphs. Unless you want to say, oh, well, he said pretend, then, oh, okay. So then this also triply doesn't make sense. Because if someone were to pretend that they do know everything, then they also wouldn't go there for advice. Because if they were pretending that they knew everything, they wouldn't go to someone for advice. And the fact that people can have a conversation and it feels like we're deciphering this paragraph, it's like we're having to learn a new language of hieroglyphics. All right. So, okay, Techie, it says pretend to know. Okay, great. So I'm going to say this one more time. Guys, if someone was actively pretending that they knew everything, in what world would a person who wants the illusion that they know everything go into a public format and ask for advice? The answer is no one would do that. If they were pretending that they are the be-all, end-all guru, right? They wouldn't go to someone for advice. Hope that makes sense. Power creep exists. It's absolutely the dev's fault. Great. Excellent. But players share some of the fault because actions speak loud as words. Okay. I.e. in-game clear records of the player base shouting power creep to the heavens before it was actually here, downplaying, gassing up characters before proper testing. All right. I really doubt that in-game clear records are the reason why power creep exists. However, power creep exists due to the characters that are stronger performing better on the banners, right? I don't really think any developers are thinking, oh, they're clearing this too slow. Let's put in a power creep unit. They're clearing it too fast. It just makes no sense. These companies go off of sales. They don't give a fuck what happens in games. All right, let's continue here. You absolutely need to be planning polls as a free-to-play to succeed or spend money. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Great take. But let's add in more perspective. This is why we creators can't keep saying plan better. Free-to-play gets 6 to 12 pities a year if you grind the hell out of the game, which means if you lose a 50-50 on a banner you save pity for, you're cooked. True. HSR moves so fast with little to no real 4-star alternatives for more powerful archetypes that you would need to save up 3 to 4 pities just to guarantee a proper vertical investment. Sure. Meaning now you got to look and trust leaks. Bad, because they've been wrong plenty of times before. Get lucky is not anyone an answer should accept. Absolutely. I think this is a great point. This is great. Absolutely. However, I will say the majority of casual players are not going to do this. So casual players are fucked, which is really bad because that's the majority of the community. But yeah, this is a great take. Well said. This version of HP inflation is almost a direct result of zero cycles. What? That does not mean it's the act of zero cycles that is the problem, but I'm just shorthanding my point. HSR devs are looking at players who understand the game well above as the line of, this is where everyone is. Which resulted in them trying to stop those players from being able to consistently do that. As an indirect result, the actual average player is getting cucked. Insert my recent free-to-play centric videos about HSR. This is one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in my entire life, and you have no proof of this claim whatsoever. This is immediately talking out your ass and hoping no one will fact check you on this. Every, and I mean every game company, as the guy who's part of one, being myself, every game company looks at the casual players and where the casuals are at. Nobody is saying the zero cycles are the status quo behind the scenes and acting like we need to pander to hardcores because they think that's where the majority of their audience is. Holy shit. I cannot believe that this is something that bro actually typed out. This is something that someone with a lack of basic fundamental knowledge of how game companies work talks. This is fucking insane. This is fucking insane. Chad, I'm looking for anybody. Does anybody actually thinks the company works like this? Because this is somebody who thinks that he cooked. Jesus. And the fact that EO thinks that there are a majority enough of players actively zero cycling in the game to fuck up with the company's raw statistical data of where players are at is one of the most delusional, out-of-touch takes I've ever seen. This is what you call a content-pilled brain. There is like maybe 0.01% of players actually zero cycling. Here's a news flash for you, man. 8% of players are the ones doing the end game. How many of the people doing the end game do you think are zero cycling? Fucking barely any. People play this game for the story. They play this game for the characters. They play this game because they like the world. They're not going, okay, now let's see where the 0.01%. Sorry, guys. The reason why this bothers me so much is when people speak this confidently, when they make this long of paragraphs and they think they cooked, people are going to think that this is right. And this act of aggressive spouting of misinformation is so violent, I have to address it. Hey, yo, chat. You guys are what it would be considered the hardcore community. Because you guys who actively engage with the game on social media. I want to know, how many of you guys are doing zero cycles? And how many of you guys aren't? Jesus. And now some of you guys might be thinking, well, techie, your chat mainly consists of Kuro bots. Well, I put out a bunch of polls on multiple platforms and all the results are the same. My chat is majorly HSR pilled chat. Majorly. They are majorly Hoyo pilled. This is not because I have a Wuthering Waves chat. So I want to continue here. All right, I want to continue. Based on the devs, Hoyo Labs data, Twitter complaints, and Pridman data, most of the community doesn't know how to play the game beyond ABC tutorial. Absolutely. This would normally be okay if HP inflation wasn't so high, but right now we're dealing with it, which means the player has to find ways to beat it. There are only two answers as of right now. Spend money to catch up or play leagues better. Absolutely. 100%. He understands that. This is the absolute truth. 100 million %. Now, this is the reason why I went live today. This right here is the reason why I went live. I was not going to stream today. But then I saw this take on this guy quintupling down on this. And he said, Pokey borderline made an EO take, which means he's right. He just expressed it poorly. That dude called y'all dogs. Lamau, I woke up in awe. EO, this is not a case of you being right and people not liking the way you said it. EO, we're going to bring you down to reality. You are a guy who is attempting to virtue signal that you are the guy who's the only motherfucker who should be praised. Zenless Zone Zero does not have a me. Do you remember those words? You were also actively pretending to be good at a game because you played fighting games, and then you used negative edge and Kara canceling incorrect for months, attempting to say, I'm the greatest player on earth. Then you got called out by real fighting game players, and ever since then, you have refused to accept reality that you fucked up, you look like a clown, and now you're playing victim. Anybody who tried to talk to you about this, you would violently cry, bitch, and schizo out on Twitter, schizo out in their chat, and you made everybody uncomfortable. You were a massive burden on the community. You went into people's discords and threatened to leak everything because if only you knew what went on in the creator server, but I ain't gonna say nothing yet. Insane. You are not a victim. This is not the product of everybody not liking what you say and you being right. You are just wrong. You have an inability to express your words properly. And I don't know how many more times I'm going to have to see you bitch on Twitter about a problem that you caused, and you will not accept reality, merely apologize for being a dickhead, and realize you are far less smart than you think you are. This shit drives me insane. It genuinely drives me fucking insane. When people's heads are so far up their own ass that they go and cry on the internet rather than just owning up to what you did. This isn't allegations. This isn't accusations. These are demonstrably true instances that occurred that everybody has seen. There is no anti-EO agenda. We are just trying to hold you accountable for the shit that you did. And it's obnoxious. Stop trying to act like everyone is bullying. If you were to merely own up to your own misdeeds and stop listening to these people who are gassing you up, saying, yes, no, you're so right. You're so right. Everybody's against you. I don't know who, somebody is telling EO that he's right in this situation, and I don't know who the fuck is telling him this, but it is so apparent that somebody is gassing bro up, and now bro is the product of his own disaster. And it honestly breaks my heart to see. Because I used to love this guy's content. I did. You saw how hard I would hype up EO. But this dude is just getting gassed up by whoever the fuck it is and cannot just accept that he fucked up and he looks dumb as shit. And chat. None of you guys are saying this. But if you did, why are you going so hard on the guy? Because clearly nobody else is. And he's going to continue living this life with a chip on his shoulder that he himself put on there. He is fighting him fucking self. Because when you actually look at what you say, the reason why more people don't call you out is because what you do, EO, is you dialogue bloat your text. You dialogue bloat your YouTube videos. You talk so damn much to make simple concepts seem like the most complicated things in the world, and people just don't pay attention. But if you laser in on what the fuck you're saying, you'll realize it makes no fucking sense. I'm surprised you don't write the HSR story. And EO, I mean this. If you react to this, I don't care. If you hate me because of this, I don't care. You need to know no one has a negative agenda against you. An agenda would be people making things up to take you down. No! We are merely talking about the things that you have done. So stop crying. Stop acting like you're a victim. Stop acting like you got bullied. Just accept that you were wrong, you look like a clown, and you're not this martyr that fucking died for other people's sins. It's insanity. Dude, it's been like this for over half a year. It's crazy. And I beg you, if you are someone who's feeding into this delusion, you are not a good friend if you go to someone and you say, oh, you did nothing wrong. No, you're completely in the right. No, they're all bullying you. You are being a horrible fucking friend. You are being a horrible fucking partner. Because real friends hold people accountable. They do. They do. This shit's insane to me. I'm sorry, guys. I have an issue with people playing the fucking victim. And they act like everybody's out to get them. Now, the problem is that there are people who do that. For example, the comment I showed off in Mr. Pokey's chat saying that his Genshin live streams were better before he met Tectone. That's a reality that doesn't exist. I have had people make up things that I didn't do for years and act like they're reality. But when people like this discredit the shit that I go through on a daily basis by saying, oh man, I'm the victim because I never did any of that. Bitch, you did it. And people are merely saying what you did. And I hate these motherfuckers who lie and say like they got it hard when you're the motherfucker on why it's hard. Jesus. I have multiple videos on my channel recently trying to help more players get ahead of the game, so power creep is less of a problem for them. But I also have videos calling out Honkai Star Rail's bullshit because this is nonsense. It's not impossible to combat power creep, but if I were free to play, I'd deadass quit the game. It's more annoying than it is anything else because they chose the dumbest way possible to try combating against a non-existent problem and ended it with a great take. Great. That's the other reason that frustrates me so much about EO is because I know in there's a smart fucking guy, a good dude, a smart guy. But the problem is he layers all this shit of aggressive victimhood on top. It's fucking insane. I don't know how nobody is holding this guy accountable for this. I just don't get it. And it makes me feel pity. Because if any one of this guy's stupid fucking friends would just be honest with the guy, he'd get it. But nobody is. And now it's my fucking problem because I hate seeing this shit. Anyways, yeah, Honkai Star Rail, fix your game. The fucking bloating is fucking crazy. Yo, Mr. Pokey, stop being a dickhead. Do you want drama or not? The hypocrisy's crazy. EO, stop being a fucking victim. All right, I'm out. Peace.